It's been 84 years. No, I am not talking about the elderly Rose recalling her sexy affair with Jack, Leonardo DiCaprio, in the 1997 James Cameron mega hit Titanic. No, I am talking about the fact that it has been 84 years since Uranus, not Uranus, the planet of shock and awe and revolution and disruption and rebellion, moved into Gemini. But honey, it's happening right now, this week. So ready or not, brace yourself for a truly shocking surprise coming in scalding hot. A once in an 84-year experience. Honey, the tea is served. Hello, and welcome to Astrology with Aliza Kelly. I'm your host and spiritual friend, Aliza Kelly, and I am so happy that you're here. This is your weekly brew, served hot and fresh every single Monday. The theme of the week is shocking surprises, and the top 3 things to know are, not only is it now Taurus season, happy birthday, you sexy little bulls, but Uranus, the planet of shock and awe, the planet of revolution, of rebellion, the planet of major disruption is moving into Gemini, where it hasn't been in 84 years. And this, my friend, item number 3, for all of us, ends a chapter that started way back in 2018 and simultaneously kicks off a brand new cycle that will change your life forever. And I'm not even being hyperbolic at all. If you are new here, welcome. This is your weekly brew. On Mondays, I set you up for the week ahead with your horoscope, some journal prompts, tarot pulls, along with an explanation as to what the hell is happening in the sky right now. And then I'm also here on Wednesdays for our tea party when the tea is piping hot. This is where we go deep into astrology. We bring it all to life. And all of our episodes are available via audio, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube under my channel, Aliza Kelly. Also, honey, my California community. I am so excited to share that I am actually doing a live show in Los Angeles. It's called Aliza's Tea Party, a live astrology show. Tea will be spilled. Anything, and I mean anything, can happen. This is a production, baby, unlike anything I have ever done before. It will blow your mind. It is blowing my mind. And it is coming to the Elysian Theater on Thursday, May 14th. And wear your favorite tea outfit, okay? I am talking white gloves. I'm talking a little sundress, an oversized hat. It's a tea party. And it is going to be a wild, wild night. I'm going to drop the link for tickets in the show notes. I can't wait to see you there. It's really going to be incredible. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I just want to say thank you for being here, for supporting this brand new independent podcast in its earliest days. I would so deeply appreciate if you could take just a moment to give the show a 5-star rating. Yes, 5 stars. We won't settle for anything less. Write a review, follow, subscribe to the show. Astrology is produced and written and hosted by me. And you know what they say, it takes a community. And your support, especially in these earliest days, is so very critical. So share your favorite clips, tell your friends, and be sure to follow wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you for joining me here in these unprecedented and wild times in the year of our Lord 2026. Okay, your weekly brew is served, honey. Stay tuned. We will be right back. Welcome, my beautiful community, to Astrology and your Monday weekly brew. It's me, Aliza Kelly, your host and your spiritual friend. And let us start with some of the first things you need to know coming into this week. Well, first, you should know that today is 420. Oh my God. Hey, slay. Even though I truly cannot recall the last time I smoked weed, I would die. I would simply perish. You should know, my stoner friends out there, that I have become a THC cocktail girl in a big way. Yes, I have. I dabble in the liquid THC and I love it. This is a new era for me. Okay, but this is also tank. There are no coincidences because Taurus season is here and there's nothing that Taurus loves more than indulging in a good libation of any variety, a cocktail, a mocktail, a weedy infused drink. The sun entered Taurus last night on Sunday, April 19th at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means happy solar return, our sexy little bulls. Happy solar return. That's how astrologers say happy, happy birthday. And for any of my Taurus sons out there, I wish you the most amazing birthday ever. I'm so glad you're here. We need you. We all need you, and we all love you, and we all appreciate you. Because after the initial supercharging energy of Aries season, which is all about action and courage and movement, and in many cases, fighting and confronting things and being confrontational, Taurus season is asking us to slow down and take it all in and sip the tea and actually enjoy the life that you're creating for yourself. Taurus wants us to take it all in, baby. Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of love and beauty and values. And Venus is also the ruler of Libra, which is an air sign, and has a lot more to do with the cerebral and conceptual components of love and partnership. But Venus, as it relates to Taurus, is really about the body. It's about the sensations. It's about the flowers, the aromas, the tea, the brew, the fabrics, the touches, the taste, the whole sensory experience of being alive and embracing the beauty of a lived experience as a physical one. And this is where we move from initiation into integration. Taurus is about embodiment. It's about what you're building and what you are prioritizing in real, tangible terms. Your resources, your habits, your environment, your relationship to your body, your relationship to your body in a space, your home, your sense of security, all of that is coming into focus now because Taurus wants to know that you are present. It wants consistency. It wants to know that where you are investing your time and energy and attention is into things that actually support you, that make you feel good, that sustain you. And as you probably know, Taurus, the bull, is notorious for its impossibly stubborn reputation. But is it stubborn, or does Taurus just know what it likes? Is it stubborn, or can Taurus teach us a thing or two about loyalty? Is it stubborn, or does it just want to leave well enough alone? If something is working, then why would you fuck with it, right? Well, the truth is that Taurus is definitely stubborn, but it is also those things too. Taurus teaches us that we can commit to the things that we love, and there's nothing wrong with that. So this week, take a page from Taurus's book and consider how you are tuning into your values by way of your senses. A quick reminder, babies, those are touch, sound, taste, smell, and sight. Exploring and embracing the sensory experience of life as life itself is a healing practice because it's also a practice of presence. It's a practice of patience, of tuning in, of quieting. It's also a practice of gratitude because it gives us permission to drop into the moment and see where we are. And you know, this is exactly what Taurus season is all about and what you need to be holding on to this week because, oh man, it is not just Taurus season, baby. It is the start of a cuckoo bananas new era. This week marks the end of Uranus's long journey through the sign of Taurus, which is tank. There are no coincidences. That story started way back in 2018. We're going to get to that in a moment. This week, Uranus moves into Gemini on Saturday, April 25th. And honey, it's like thunder, lightning, sound effects, shocking. Ah! Are you scared? Don't be. I am. I'm not. I don't know what to think. I'm definitely a little bit scared because this is such a big deal. This is such a major, major astrological happening. It is one of the biggest and baddest of 2026. One of the reasons that 2026 is such a massive paradigm shifting year. And it's happening right now. We are here. Oh my goodness, it's coming in hot, hot, hot. And we all have to get ready, even if we are very, very not ready. Because how could we possibly be ready for this, right? How could we possibly be ready? Okay, so Uranus, which is a further out planet than Saturn, so it's not visible with the naked eye, It was discovered during the Enlightenment via telescope, which is tank. There are no coincidences because Uranus is about science and innovation and technology and breakthroughs. I digress. Uranus has an 84-year orbit, which means it cycles through a zodiac sign every 7 years. And when it does, it marks the beginning of one chapter for collective and personal evolution. And Uranus did have a brief rendezvous in Gemini last year. That was from July 7th through November 7th before yeeting itself back into Taurus. So if you want to think about, Uranus and Gemini and what that first looked like and felt like for you, go back to that time in your life, July 7th to November 7th, to think if there was anything new or novel or unique that was sprouting during those months. It may have been snipped. It may not have continued because, the story of Uranus and Taurus wasn't over yet. But it's possible that some storylines or themes or narratives that were present at that moment might surface again. But now with Uranus parking in Gemini, it's going to be there through 2033. It's not going back into Taurus. And this is really the defining moment of Uranus's movement, its entry into Gemini, because Uranus hasn't been in Gemini in 84 years. And you can Google what was going on 84 years ago. And honey, you're not going to be happy about it, okay? You're not going to be happy about what comes up. So I'm just going to tell you, I'll hold your hand and tell you, the last time that Uranus was in Gemini was from 1941 to 1949. And that was when the world was in the throes of World War II. And it was also the beginning of the Cold War, okay? And I'm sorry to say that 84 years before that, the next last time that Uranus was in Gemini was from 1858 to 1866. And yes, honey, that was the Civil War. And then if we go 84 years before that, surely that couldn't be another war. Honey, it was. That was from 1774 to 1782. And that was the American Revolution. Okay, so what is the deal? What is le deal with Uranus in Gemini lining up with such major times of conflict? Well, surprise, surprise, divas, the United States was actually born with Uranus in Gemini in its birth chart. So every 84 years, the United States as a country goes through some sort of a revolution. That's one of the Uranus words around how it defines itself and what it defines itself as and how it's perceived too, right? Because Gemini is also about perception. Oh, and would you look at that? This year, the United States will be turning 250 years old. And if you quickly Google how long empire lasts, something like that, well, honey, you may discover something alarming. The answer is 250 years. So right as Uranus is also going to be moving into Gemini, the United States is also going to be having its Uranus return right as we celebrate 250 years, which is how long an empire lasts. Stop screaming because number one, what can we do? This is the cycle we're in, right? This is just the moment that our souls wanted to reincarnate and come back to Earth. What can we say? Number two, history does not have to repeat itself exactly. And I mean, if we're being honest, it never does. All of these different conflicts also were different conflicts, right? And this time, at least I anticipate that Uranus in Gemini is going to catalyze seismic shifts in media and in education, obviously in AI, in transportation, maybe in medicine. I'm thinking about quantum computing. I'm thinking about currency. I'm thinking about radical reimaginings as to what social media looks like and how we disseminate and share ideas. I'm thinking about misinformation. I'm thinking about cyber attacks. But this is new territory for all of us, right? And that is what Uranus is all about, is new territory. And Gemini is about the way we communicate and understand things. So I think that this iteration of Uranus and Gemini is going to be less about civilians fighting each other. At least I hope it is, because I would simply perish. And it's going to be more about how we direct our anger maybe towards the plutocrats, towards the systems of oppression themselves. I'm thinking about information economies. I'm thinking about digital infrastructure. I'm thinking about who controls the truth in an age where reality is becoming increasingly fragmented, especially with the ubiquity of AI. I'm thinking about information as really the next battlefield, period. So, maybe if we're lucky, we get a little class uprising too. We get a little French Revolution vibes as a treat. Maybe a girl can dream. But ultimately, I think that it's important to remember too that Uranus isn't miserable in Gemini, right? Uranus is very airy as a planet. Its modern association is with Aquarius, which is the final air sign. And Uranus innately has that cerebral and intellectual and cognitive quality. Uranus wants voltage. It wants electricity. And Gemini is a conductor. You feel me? It's giving Benjamin Franklin with a kite. It's giving Uncle Fester with a light bulb in its mouth, okay? And I also want to mention that because Gemini, ruled by Mercury, governs communication and language and technology and thoughts and patterns and learning and the way that we interpret reality, this next phase is about transformation at the level of the mind, the way that you think about change, the way that you communicate change. Uranus is also considered by astrologers the higher octave of Mercury. So the fact that this is a Gemini-Uranus moment and it's ruled by Mercury, but then Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, like there's a lot of energy coming together about the way that we process information. And Uranus, of course, is all about disruption. So these changes that we are going to experience through 2033 are certainly going to come with lots of shocking surprises. Even if you think you know what's going to happen, you have no idea, because that's the whole fucking point. We are going to have lots of new ways of understanding the world, of understanding reality, of understanding ourselves. And personally, you may notice that your interests start evolving, and the way that you want to spend your time and the way that you communicate is going to be going through some sort of a revolution over these next 7 years. And that's exactly how Uranus in Gemini wants to manifest. It wants you to break out of any outdated narratives and engage with yourself and the world in a more dynamic and curious and flexible way. So instead of trying to lock in certainty, this new era is about staying open and following what intrigues you and exploring and asking questions because you want to ask questions, because you're curious, not necessarily because you're chasing answers. And if you're like, wait, what does that mean? Let me give you an example, because I'm seeing this in my real life all the time right now with my curious 2-year-old daughter who's always like, Mommy, why are we doing this? And I'm like, because we're going to a restaurant. Why? Because we're hungry. Why? Because it's dinner time. Why? Because we don't have food at home, right? And I'm realizing as I'm answering her that she actually doesn't care about the answer. She cares about the why. She's enjoying the game of asking why. And it's really giving Uranus and Gemini. So maybe all of us need to recall the curious 2-year-old who lives in our hearts, because that is going to be what gets us through and supports us over these next 7 years. Okay, the last thing I want to say is that every time a planet does move into a new zodiac sign, it enters that 0-degree point, right? And it begins a new chapter, but it also means that we end a chapter, right? So every ingress is simultaneously a new beginning and also an ending. And as we begin our Uranus and Gemini story, we do close down that Uranus and Taurus narrative that we have been working through since 2018. Think about what has changed in your life and in the collective since 2018. Like, oh my God, it is too much to even comprehend. Uranus, which is so rebellious, is really very oddly suited to be in the sign of Taurus, because Taurus, like we just talked about, because it's now Taurus season, is about grounding and stabilizing and creating structure, right? Uranus has rattled everything and anything that we had once deemed stable. On a collective level, we have seen changes around the economy and resources and the housing market and the energy grid and the supply chain. And we had a literal fucking pandemic, right? Everything that we thought we knew we could trust and that we could rely on was upended, and life is so different than it was 7 years ago. And then on a personal level, so many people experienced disruptions that forced them to redefine their relationship to work, to money, to ownership, to value itself. So look at your chart, because wherever Taurus is in your birth chart has gone through a tremendous evolution since Uranus started shaking up that area of your life back in 2018. And then any planets or placements you have in Taurus, I'm talking your big six, but beyond your big six, Jupiter, Saturn, your descendant, your IC, your MC, whatever it is, right? Any asteroids in Taurus, whatever you have in Taurus has been rocked, okay? Completely rocked. That's very French, by this planetary journey. But Uranus in Taurus shook and rattled the foundation, not just to fuck with us, but so that we could step into this new chapter now. Uranus in Taurus showed us what was not actually stable. And now that we know what reality we can work with, we have the ability to start imagining new mental, cognitive, cerebral territory, which is what the Uranus and Gemini story is going to be about. So it's less about what you have and more about how you think as we come into Uranus and Gemini. And we wouldn't have necessarily been able to make that jump if we hadn't gone through the past 7 years where we learned that stability is a construct and stability is rarely ever permanent. So take a moment and think about what has changed in your life since 2018. What beliefs no longer fit the person that you have become? What structurally has shifted in your life? Have you moved? Has your income changed? Has what you do for work changed? Like all of these Taurus things. And then you can also start to think about like, what conversations can I have now because of this evolution that I've experienced that I would not have been able to have before because I just didn't have the context for it. And wherever you are, it's time to embrace the change because the change is happening. It's coming in hot. It's happening this week. And it's also very Uranian for me to tell you that the real tagline of this moment is let go or be dragged. And I don't want anyone to be dragged, so I'm going to need you to let go. And don't worry, because we're going to get through it together, okay? We got this. And of course, I have your journal prompt for the week ahead. How have I evolved since 2018? And how does that evolution help clarify what is actually stable, reliable, and trustworthy in my life? And now let us turn to le tarot, the other T, and see what is in the cards for the week ahead, okay? Let's see what we have. The World. Okay. The World is the last card in the tarot deck. When we pull this card, it means that we are at the end of the line. T. It means that this is it. We're done. Wrap it up. Show's over. Pack your stuff. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here kind of thing. The World as a card, as an energy, is about the cycles of life. It is about endings and beginnings. It's about what we are walking away from and what we are walking to. So, I mean, the World is a serious heavy-duty card. And pulling this on such an important week when we have the Uranus and Taurus cycle that started in 2018 ending and the new Uranus and Gemini story that's going to take us all the way through 2033 beginning really signifies that there is a line in the sand. There is a before and after. And that before and after is happening this week. That's tea. Coming up next, I have your personalized horoscope so you know what Uranus in Gemini means for you. So stick around. I'll be right back after a very quick break. Welcome back, friends. It's time for your personalized horoscopes. Here is your weekly brew. As always, I want to remind you of a few things before we start. Number one, be sure to listen for your sun and your rising sign, because together these help tell a more complete story about where the themes of the week are going to show up for you. Number two, astrology is in the order of Aries through Pisces. Aries is the first sign, Pisces is the last. I will always go in zodiacal order. To find your signs, all you need to do is check out the timestamps. Okay, here we go. Hello, Aries. Okay, for the past 7 years, honey, Uranus in Taurus has been radically changing, transforming your relationship to money, to values, to material security, has it not? And you have had your fair share of highs and lows, Aries. You have had your fair share of exciting W's and major L's. Those are wins and losses. If you don't speak Gen Alpha. You have questioned capitalism. You have questioned productivity culture. You have questioned the idea that worth should be measured by output alone, right? Or income or status. And you know what, Aries? You weren't wrong to question it, because your personal revolution is about what is actually important to you and why actually keeping yourself inspired, even as the world crumbles, matters more than any rotting metric that was used 60 years ago that is no longer applicable to your life. T. But now, as Uranus progresses into Gemini, the work, the lessons are going to shift from your relationship to money to your relationship to your voice and how you can use it truly and authentically and thoughtfully in strange and unexpected ways in these strange and unexpected times, right? Over the next 7 years through 2033, this new journey for Uranus is also a new journey for you. And it's going to teach you how to think, how to speak, how to write, how to communicate in very different ways than you have approached it before. Ideas are definitely going to be flowing very, very fast. You are going to be receiving so much new information. And Aries, even a powerhouse like you who never ever wants to pause, may not be sure what to do with this information overload. So what that means is you need to figure out some new frameworks, right? Frameworks that make sense for the future. And when you speak within these new frameworks, people are actually going to be able to listen to you. They're going to be able to receive what you are saying. You are going to realize that your life and your leadership has never been about status. It has always been about community and connection, right? And when you really drop into this, when you drop into understanding that your magic and your innovation is about helping inspire people, then you find your people. And then everything is going to start making sense again, because you're going to be doing exactly what you need to do in order to get your soul on the right path. Hello, Taurus. My. Oh boy. If the other signs thought that Uranus's journey through Taurus for the past 7 years was intense, they truly have no idea what you have been through. No idea at all. Since 2018, Uranus has been in your sign, truly revolutionizing every fiber of your being, shaping and reshaping your identity, how you see yourself, how others perceive you, how you move through the world, everything about who you are, truly. And there have been times during this transit that you have felt amazing, that you have felt like limitless, that you felt like you were finally breaking the rules. You were finally pushing back. You could finally do things your own way for the first time in your whole fucking life. And it made you inspired. And then people were worried about you, but you were like, I got it. I know what I'm doing. It felt freeing. It felt scary, but also freeing. And then there have been also times when you were genuinely petrified, right? When you felt totally untethered, when you felt like you were jumping back and forth between different realities, different versions of yourself, never quite sure what you were running from or going to or rebelling from, or were you just rebelling against yourself? Like, were you making things harder for yourself than you needed to? it was confusing, okay, to say the absolute least. But now, Taurus, as Uranus moves out of your sign, which also is like the greatest birthday gift of all, and it moves into Gemini, you are finally going to get a break from all of that reinvention. And instead, you have the opportunity to rewrite your relationship with money and resources, which, let's be honest, is something you really, really care about. You have spent 7 years becoming a totally different person, and now it's time to figure out what this new version of you, or this old, new, and improved version of you, actually values. But naturally, Uranus is going to do this the hard way by making everything a bit more wobbly than you'd probably like. Uranus in this area of your chart is going to bring a mix of feast and famine, which means that your relationship with money and stability and personal resources may become a little unpredictable, a little morally complicated, or maybe more authentic than it ever has before, right? Of course, the challenge is going to be knowing how to work with instead of against this Uranus in Gemini hurricane that's coming. But Taurus, you will be thrilled to know that Uranus in Gemini is going to make it very, very clear that what you care about matters. And that means that you have an opportunity to rewrite the rules around ownership and commitment and value so that they actually apply to your life. For example, maybe your dreams or your talents or your wishes or your energy can't be quantified, right? Maybe they shouldn't be quantified. Maybe they have a soft value, a qualitative value. Maybe you can experience those expressions of self differently when you're not trying to figure out how to monetize them. Or maybe you decide that now is the time to put some concrete value behind them and to say, this is how much it's worth. Ultimately, this is very much a choose your own adventure journey about investigating what money and values and resources and worth and wealth mean to you. And over the next 7 years, you're really going to know the difference between your short-term and your long-term investments, what you're even investing in the first place, and then why all of that information and insight actually matters, and why all of that shapes your selfhood, your identity, and most importantly, your own self-actualization journey. Hi, Gemini. Oh my God. This is the moment you've been waiting for, whether or not you even knew you were waiting for it, unless you were born in 1941, which is like, hello, Slay. If you were, I'm glad you're here. But, you know, if you weren't living in the 40s, then you have never experienced what it's like to have Uranus in your sign, right? This is the first. This is new. This is novel. It's been 84 years, Gemini, since Uranus was in your sign. And now it's here. And it's your time to shine in a very, very big way. Since 2018, Uranus has been in Taurus. And for you, that was a necessary but very difficult shakedown of your mental health and your psyche and your emotional well-being. And it was important and it was powerful and it was really challenging. But with Uranus now entering Gemini, moving into your own sign, you are going to realize and really understand why these past 7 years of bringing your mental health, of your internal world, of your intuition to the forefront was so important, because Uranus in Gemini is going to be a bigger deal for you than anyone else. I'm not playing favorites. It's just, that's the truth, right? You are entering a completely new chapter of your life and nothing is ever going to be the same again. So thank goodness you had that time to think, right? Are you excited? Are you terrified? It's okay to be a little bit of both, Gemini. I encourage you to be a little bit of both because we love some duality and because this is so profound. So what should you expect in this new era? Well, a lot of this is going to be something that we understand more as time progresses. Especially since this hasn't happened in your lifetime. It's unprecedented tea. But what we know is that this is going to directly impact your identity, your presence, the way that you experience the physical world around you, the way that other people experience you physically, you are going to go through a rebrand like you have never encountered, experienced, underwent before. You are going to change your relationship to selfhood in a cataclysmic way. Who you thought you were, who you are right now, let's say, is going to be very, very different than who you are in 2033. Over the next 7 years, you are going to understand which parts of yourself are fixed, are permanent, are core, intrinsic to your being, and which parts of yourself are malleable. Or maybe every single part of yourself is malleable. Maybe everything is going to go through some sort of a revolution. And this is exciting. It's electric. It's inspiring. It's unexpected. But even for you, I understand that this might be a little like, whoa, that's a lot. And yeah, I mean, Uranus is wind. It's big, big gusts of wind. So yes, you might at times feel a little whipped around by Uranian windstorms, right? They're literally like electrical storms because Uranus is the planet of shock and awe. So it's meant to be destabilizing, but trust that this process is about expanding and evolving and radicalizing your identity so that you can become the person that you are meant to be, richer and wider and more powerful than we have ever seen you before, Gemini. Are you ready? Maybe? Well, it's here. It's happening. So get ready. Hello, Cancer. For the past 7 years, Uranus has been knocking around your connections, your friendship, your communities, the people, the things that inspire you. And at times, that has been incredibly exciting. It's been progressive. It's radicalized you. You have a mission. You have a drive. You have a purpose in the world. But then other times, you felt like you were sort of losing yourself, like you didn't know what to trust or who to trust, like nothing was real, like nothing mattered. And that existential roller coaster has been intense, but really important. And now for you, Cancer, as Uranus moves from Taurus into Gemini, that revolution also goes through a progression, right? And now it's time to look under the hood. Through 2033, you are being called to step away from external validation and to really look inward, to really consider these old versions of yourself, to consider outdated attachments, and to recognize that once some of those formerly perceived as unbreakable beliefs start to get rattled by way of Uranus. Uranus here is like a toddler jumping next to your cabinet of treasures, right? And you're like watching them shake and tremble and you're like, that's enough. Like, I want you to move, but not right there, right? Like that's going to be the experience is seeing that what you once regarded as sacred is starting to rattle. And at the end of this process, 7 years from now, when Uranus actually moves into your sign, Cancer, yes, it's coming for you. You are going to have the tools to recognize that what has been uncovered was really ultimately a raw and intuitive connection to your soul, to the deepest parts of yourself, to the unseen forces that shape and define your life because it's who you are in the deepest parts of your being. So, I mean, why don't we call it like it is? These next 7 years are going to be your psychic awakening. Uranian lessons are always chaotic. That's sort of the nature of the beast. And you should also know that Uranus in Gemini doesn't really have a plan, right? It just does the thing it needs to do. And for you, that can really feel like destabilizing. But Cancer, this is going to teach you how you can learn to trust your instincts, what is actually sacred and precious in your life, how you can feel and anticipate things before they happen, like in a way that is not just annoying and disruptive, but in a way that you can actually work with. So Cancer, prepare for some very spiritual, otherworldly experiences over the next 7 years. So make sure you get your sea legs ready, okay? Because this is going to be a wild ride, but this is probably what you have been waiting for because we all know that you are incredibly intuitive. And now it's time to take it to the next level. Hello, Leo. Okay, has your relationship to success changed drastically over the past 7 years? Think back to what was going on in your life in 2018. What were your goals? What were your priorities? What were you chasing? Uranus in Taurus most certainly whipped it all up. And just like the tornado in The Wizard of Oz, it dropped a house on the farm and you were like, whoa, this is weird. This is different than I thought it was going to be. And for you, like that could have looked like, maybe you had wanted to work in a certain industry only to discover that that industry is busted or it doesn't even exist anymore, right? Maybe you wanted the approval of some higher up at your company only for them to get fired for inappropriate behavior. And you're like, ew, I can't believe I ever wanted that validation in the first place. One thing is for sure, Leo, what you thought you wanted before Uranus began journeying in Taurus is totally different from what you want now. And that is not a bad thing. It's actually a really, really good thing. It may have been unexpected at times, but ultimately it was a learning experience. And now, as Uranus shifts into Gemini, the focus moves away from accolades and towards the people and the ideals and the values that inspire you. This is about finding your purpose in the world, Leo. For you, the next 7 years are about connection. They're about friendship and collaboration and the causes that excite you on a soul level. And all of that is going to be top of mind for you. This is not just going to be about finding your standing. It's also going to be about looking around and seeing who is standing with you. And yeah, Leo, some of your relationships are going to get shaken up, right? Some of the social causes that you care about now are not going to be the ones that you care about in 7 years. New ones are going to form. And some of the things that you are motivated by are going to find you in really unexpected and potentially a little chaotic ways. But now through 2033, this next chapter is about finding your purpose. The right connections are going to show up when you need them to show up. So don't be afraid to find some parts of you getting a little radicalized, right? Maybe you're going to change your perspective. Maybe you're going to expand your vision. Maybe the relationships that are right now nurturing you are going to start to challenge you. But that doesn't mean that you have to let them go. It means that you are going to find a new vibration of self that is open to new possibilities and new experiences and new potentials and new paths forward so that you can really integrate your talents and your gifts and your abilities with this new future that's happening, whether or not we're ready. I hope that you're ready for your contributions in it because Leo, you matter and you have something to offer. You can really, really make a difference in the world. And this is actually going to fill your cup more than anything else you have attempted before. So let's do it. Hello, Virgo. For the past 7 years, Uranus has been shaking you, really shaking you, begging you to break free of your comfort zone, urging you to explore new beliefs, new philosophies, new ways of seeing the world. And honey, you did it. You had to. You didn't have an option. Uranus said this is actually non-negotiable. I need you to see new realities right now. So Virgo, maybe that was through travel, or maybe you studied something unexpected, or maybe you found a new spiritual calling, or maybe you realized that the old version that you had been working with of reality of who you are had to go, right? You've been changed. And Virgo, these changes have been ultimately very positive because you are giving yourself permission to be a little bit more exploratory than you had ever really given yourself that permission to before. At the same time, that is not necessarily your natural POV. So there have been moments, seasons, months, years even, through Uranus and Taurus, where you have felt unmoored, where you have felt uncertain of what you actually believe. Like it's been hard for you to find your conviction because it feels so nebulous. But now, as Uranus moves into Gemini, that search for answers, that search for clarity, that wanderlust is going to start to take a back seat. And instead, you are going to feel more and more motivated to put all of those discoveries into use because you are ready to build something. Over the next 7 years, your career, your ambitions, your public identity is about to get a massive boost of energy, Virgo. What you do in the world is no longer just about stability or security. It needs to be radical. It needs to be unexpected. It needs to be deeply aligned with who you are at your core. So Virgo, if the work that you're doing now feels disconnected from your heart, Uranus in Gemini is going to make that impossible to ignore. Virgo, the career that you are meant to be living and building is not about, trying to make the most swanky LinkedIn profile, right? It has to be a natural evolution to your self-actualization journey and to all of the breakthroughs that you have had as you have given yourself permission to step out of your comfort zone. Virgo, you have spent the last 7 years expanding your mind. Great. But now it is time to trust your instincts and carve a path that honors both your ambition and your philosophical expansion. So, don't worry too much about the resume. You can probably throw it out because, mark my words, Virgo, Uranus in Gemini is going to take you on a wild ride as it relates to your career over these next 7 years. So what you are doing now is certainly not going to be what you are doing at the end of it, but it is going to be exactly what you are meant to be doing. Hi, Libra. As Uranus moves into Gemini this week, which is a fellow air sign, you are also stepping into a new era. You see what I did there? Yes, yes, yes. She's a genius. This era is going to be asking you to expand beyond everything that you thought you knew. Now, Libra, for the past 7 years, Uranus in Taurus has been reshaping you truly from the inside out. You have experienced some profound transformations, some of which have been exhilarating, and then others have been really, really hard. Namely, you have had to face over and over again power dynamics and people who disappoint you. And yes, there have been some major wins, but there have also been these forces behind the scenes, these systems that have just made you feel really small and inferior. And even though the successes have been extraordinary, a lot of them have come at a huge cost. And you have been really humbled, Libra, in this ego death kind of way. And I know that that is not an easy thing to stomach or to get through. Libra, let me know in the comments if that resonates, or in the Apple reviews if that resonates, right? Have you been humbled by your successes over the last 7 years? I have news, okay? It's good news. Why not? Uranus moving into Gemini is going to be an incredible up level for you. Everything is going to start shaking and cracking open like a delicious can of cold, crisp Diet Coke. You feel me? Over the next 7 years, your focus is going to shift from what has been taken away from you or what you feel like you have lost to what is ahead of you, to what you can build and create on your own terms. This is a major period of discovery, Libra, of ideas, of places, of philosophies that inspire you to see life differently. The way that you think about the world and what you believe in is going to evolve. And I can assure you that if these past 7 years have been rough, which I think they have, these next 7 are going to be better. You went through the hard stuff, so trust yourself to ride out whatever those Uranian tremors are that are going to be inevitable, yes, but they are also going to be electrifying. They're going to be strange. They're going to be novel. And you're also going to know that you are moving towards something that feels really anchored, really positive, really aligned with your authenticity. And ultimately, that's a good thing. Because with Uranus moving into Gemini, it's time to see what else life has to offer. Hi, Scorpio. For the last 7 years, with Uranus in your opposite sign of Taurus, your focus has been on relationships, on figuring out where you stand with others, on figuring out what partnership means to you and how to deal with changes in your dynamics, positive changes, negative changes. You have been presented with life-changing contracts across basically every aspect of life, in business, in love, in your opportunities for the future. And you have also realized that contracts aren't always going to be honored and upheld by both parties. Do you feel me? You have been like, oh, wait, that's not what I was agreeing to. That's not why I signed the dotted line. And for you, realizing that people's expectations of you might be different than your expectations of them has been quite dysregulating, because trust and loyalty are paramount to who you are. But also, this has been a healing journey, Scorpio. This is your self-actualization journey. And you have made it to the other side. That Uranus and Taurus chapter is over. And now it's time for a brand new set of lessons. Oh, goody. Okay, so now with Uranus moving into Gemini, your focus is going to shift towards transformation. And probably to the very transformation that you have been resisting. Yes, Scorpio, it is time to rise from the ashes. It is time to shed that snake skin. It is time to become the version of yourself that is changed and is different and has been transformed by the life experiences that you have lived. Uranus in Gemini is your opportunity, call it an opportunity, to face your deepest fears. The fears about power and intimacy and trust and control. Yes, because this is your opportunity to reach at least part of your final form. The biggest, baddest, most alchemical diva under the sun who can literally weave straw into gold. Yes, Scorpio, I am talking about you. I love this for you because, Scorpio, you are obviously associated with evolution. So I want to encourage you to let go of your need for control and trust the metamorphosis. Even when it feels uncertain, when it feels out of your hands, like that's the fucking point. It will feel out of your hands because it's Uranus we're talking about here. But remember, Scorpio, you are not at the mercy of other people. You are not being controlled. There is no puppet master here. This is just life, right? This is just how it is. And this is how your future takes shape. This is your reality that you can still take the reins on and give it a proper tug, even as you are going into uncharted territory. So let yourself evolve, Scorpio. You're the captain now. Hi, Sagittarius. Uranus has been drifting through the part of your life tied to structure for the past 7 years. And everything from your routines to your work to, the illusion of balance of your day-to-day reality has been completely upended, has it not? Sagittarius, this was by design because Uranus and Taurus wanted you to see, like in a major way, that systems that don't actually support your growth and your soul journey are just getting in the way. They're just busy work. They're just holding you back. We don't like it. So now, with Uranus shifting into Gemini this week, which happens to be your opposite sign, the next 7 years are all about radicalizing your relationship to relationships, to commitment, to connection, to the way that you define partnership. It's all changing in a huge way, which means that what you thought you wanted in a partner may evolve into something completely different. Uranus is going to really be a shakedown for all of your interpersonal connections and your contracts too. And as the world is trembling, you are going to realize that some of these alliances are really ride or die, while others are just like, oh, okay, well, that ended. And that's just the way it's got to be, Sagittarius, because that's life. That's growth. That's evolution. This is growing up. So trust the process, okay? The last thing I want to tell you is that as someone, you, who loves to be a free spirit, totally independent, you are going to learn over the next 7 years why having solid and trustworthy alliances matter. why the right connections are not holding you back, but actually setting you free and enabling you to do all of the amazing and exciting things that you want to do, that you want to experience in this lifetime. And I'm not just talking about social relationships or romantic relationships. I'm talking about professional relationships and contracts and collaborations. All of these can really be the wind beneath your wings. And I mean, it's tank. There are no coincidences, since Uranus is the wind and Gemini is associated with the butterfly. So the next 7 years are all about finding the butterflies that can help you get where you want to go. And I can't wait to see what that looks like for you. Hello, Capricorn. So this week, Uranus is shifting from Taurus to Gemini, and this change is going to be profound, baby. For the last 7 years, since 2018, Uranus has been barreling through the part of your world tied to passion and love and creativity, the pursuit of pleasure. Maybe you've fallen in love. Maybe you lost that love. Maybe you found a new creative vision only because what you thought you could rely on actually crumbled and turned to dust in your hand. Maybe you've explored new ways of expressing yourself because the old ways to express yourself just didn't make sense anymore. There have been high highs and low lows, and whatever you learned, whatever has changed in your life since 2018 has really just been setting you up for a brand new chapter, and that chapter begins right now. This week, Uranus settles into Gemini for the next 7 years of your life, and the focus is going to be reshaping the way that you handle work and wellness and daily life. These are very important matters, okay, Capricorn? And Uranus is going to bring seismic shifts to your routines, to your relationship to your body, to the way that you show up for yourself every day. So Capricorn, expect surprises, expect shocking things, expect change in your schedule that really knocks the wind out of you, Capricorn, that completely transforms your concept of a comfort zone, whatever that may be. I know that you are used to just pushing through, right? To hustling, to grinding away. But Uranus and Gemini is going to make sure that you are not wasting your damn time doing things that don't actually take your soul where it needs to go. Uranus and Gemini says wake up, Capricorn, hello. It is time to find a new flow. And through 2033, you are going to realize that the way that you spend your time needs to change. And the way that you work needs to change. And maybe even what you do for work needs to change. And by the time 2033 rolls around, you're going to be like, holy shit, that was an era that really changed everything. Because the real growth isn't in just how much you accomplish. It's in how aligned you are with your daily habits to support what actually fuels you. Your rituals, your work, your well-being. It's all evolving, Capricorn. And the more you honor that journey, the more unstoppable you're going to become. Trust me, you're going to like it. Hi, Aquarius. For the last 7 years, Uranus, your planetary ruler, has been totally reinventing your world. I'm talking your home. I'm talking your family. I'm even talking the way that you think about your origin story, okay? Your villain origin story, Aquarius. Maybe you have spent some of this time trying to define what home means, or maybe why you feel safe in certain situations and unsafe in other situations. And these are very philosophical musings, very Aquarius coded, but even for someone as cerebral as you, it may have felt disorienting because we're also talking about your literal physical infrastructure here. So think back to 2018. How has your relationship with home and family and security evolved since then? But now, this week, Uranus is moving into Gemini, and that is a like-minded air sign. So you are stepping into a very exciting period of creativity and passion and living in the moment. Yes, Aquarius! Don't tell the other signs because I don't want them to get jealous, but this is exactly what you've been waiting for. This is just what the doctor ordered. You are going to be pulled to new experiences that truly inspire you, that give you permission to create and explore your passions. And it's going to be romantic and it's going to be sexy and it's going to be very fertile. You are going to be able to pursue all of your whims and desires spontaneously and wildly. And yes, even recklessly. And this is the type of liberation you need, Aquarius. This is the type of freedom that your soul has been desperately craving. But of course, even with all of this good stuff, Uranus can still be a little destructive, which means that over the next 7 years, not everything is going to go exactly according to plan. You may become obsessed with something or someone only to realize, ooh, they are not who they said they were. This is not the vibe. But honestly, this is the beauty of the era, right? It's to experience things and to learn through the experiences and to really connect with that discovery and that joy of being alive. So Aquarius, wake up, because it's time to find your passion again. This is huge. And I'm really excited for you because after what you have been through, you deserve it. Hi, Pisces, get ready, because starting this week, your very foundation is going to be shifting beneath your little mermaid tail. For the last 7 years, Uranus has been shaking up the way that you think, the way you communicate, the way that you process the world around you. You have found very interesting and unique ways to question your long-held beliefs, to find clarity in the complete abyss of information. And that process has been noble, but it has also been really, really hard. You have probably felt like at different points since 2018 that you have been really grasping for certainty in a world that just seems to be unwilling to give it to you. And it's been hard in those moments, but it's also been really character building because you've been able to see once and for all, like, who actually is willing to take the time to understand you and sit with you and get to know you so that you can feel heard and appreciated. But now, with Uranus moving into Gemini, your focus is turning towards your home, to your family, to the emotional structures that hold it all together. But here's the thing, Pisces, Uranus doesn't play by the rules, which means that the systems that you have relied on for stability are not going to feel so steady anymore. But that is actually the point. The way that you have built your personal life might not be enough to sustain you. Family dynamics are going to shift. Old emotional wounds are going to resurface. Your definition of home itself is just going to become a little more rickety. You may find yourself moving to somewhere that you had never even dreamed you could live. But there's a method to the madness, Pisces, because every so often we do need to redefine what security means to us in order to ensure it is still supporting our soul's mission as opposed to stifling us, holding us back. Security isn't just about what you own or what you've built. It's about what sustains you in different iterations of life. You feel me? The trauma responses that you developed as a child may not be serving you anymore. And this next chapter is going to teach you how to start over. So over the next 7 years, you are going to learn how to create safety on your own terms. And once you do, Pisces, you are going to feel inspired to actually take the exciting risks that your soul has been begging for. And that, my friends, is all for this weekly brew. But join me Wednesday because we're having a tea party. And then next Monday, I'll be back, a whole other weekly brew. We just do it over and over and over again because that's what we do. That's how we live. That's the show. That's the astrology. So make sure you tune in every Monday and every Wednesday for all new episodes. And don't forget to rate 5 stars, review, follow, and subscribe so you never, ever, ever miss a beat.